Today is July 2nd, 2016, and this is mile 67 to 66 southbound on the Laurel Highlands hiking trail. About 8:15 p.m. I'll be happy if I can get a few more miles in here. I'm always pushing the end of the day, and I keep trying to find new ways to kind of enhance the quality of the videos, get different tools and whatnot, and then I get to the Laurel Highlands trail and I realize I don't know how to use them, or they're not what I expected. So yeah, I definitely was ready to hike it, run or whatever at 6:30 or so. But it was a little after 7 by the time I got done fussing around with this GoPro harness to try to figure out how to make it work for me. And the way it works is upside down, which doesn't allow me the ability to kind of look in the viewfinder or manipulate the buttons too much while I'm wearing it. But I think the video should be a little better than when I hold it in my hand. It just has to be flipped around. Starting to go down a little bit here. Amazingly, as recently as 2014, I took some videos of the Missouri River on a bike ride across Missouri, the Katy Trail, and I did them with my phone, and they were all upside down, and it was a disaster. I thought, what am I going to do with those videos? I can never show them. Someone will have to turn their monitor upside down. It's just, and they were great videos. I'm like, oh, I only had 5 minutes of them. And finally, 2016 comes along, and I start messing around with YouTube editor and some different things, which I only really figured out how to do probably maybe back in April. It's now July. And I realized the first thing I did was I flipped them around. And I was like, hallelujah. The videos were perfect. They were the way they were supposed to be. And it was great. And now that I know that I can do that, sometimes I'll intentionally position the camera, in a way that's not the final video the way I want it to be, but if it happens to work out, and I can fix it later, and it's good. Recently I did a kayak one where I forgot to bring the headband or whatever I was using, which I don't actually put on my head. I put it on my sea kayak under the straps, and I had to get the camera to not be in my hands because I'm using a paddle. Couldn't flip it on the kayak really in any decent orientation, or it would fall right out. So I was able to put it sideways in my life jacket. Just barely sticking out, kind of. Seems like it came out good. The only issue with that is you probably will end up getting some videos that are, I don't know, 4 high for every 3 wide, or 16 high for every 9 wide. You'll get that, generally flattened movie or TV scale ratio sort of flipped around, but the image will be the right side, the right way in the screen. I'm sure there's more sophisticated things out there that you could probably take that and do something with it, but I don't want to stretch anything out of proportion or make anything look unnatural. Dead tree. It's really getting a lot cool now. It's the nice thing about western Pennsylvania that they don't have in eastern Pennsylvania is in the summer you can still get some decently cold days and nights occasionally. It's not just one solid heat wave from the end of May to middle of September. We'll have days where it might only be in the 60s or 70 and 40s at night, or low 50s, and it's just wonderful to get that. And then we'll have you know, some days where it's pushing 90 and maybe 70 at night, and that's not easy to deal with, but it's a little easier to deal with when you know it won't last forever. If you're listening to this in Florida or Hawaii or something, you're probably thinking that sounds great. We just went to a church thing and we're like, oh, it's so hot, it's, you know, 88 degrees or whatever, and the guy was from Louisiana and he's like, oh, it's so cool. And I'm just like dying from heat exhaustion. Perfect trail running temperature for me is usually 50 something with practically no humidity. You get those conditions a lot in the fall. Sometimes even you'll get 50s or 40s and there'll be a lot of humidity. Like one time I come up here in the early spring and that wasn't all that much fun either. I was just drenched with sweat even though it was cold. And then you got the issue of being kind of chilled and hot at the same time. I found the solution to that most of the time, as long as it's above 55, is just to not have a shirt on. But yeah, when it gets below that, then you kind of gotta have your layers on and sort of be careful and take them off and put them on and all that. Used to be kind of a thing that would happen a lot on some hikes I used to do. You'd always, well, the ones especially out west, you'd start going up a mountain. Every hike just went straight up a mountain. And 30 seconds into a hike, I don't know, 5 minutes into a hike, there'd be a stop for a clothing adjustment. Because everyone would start sweating. So that happens, and then some of those mountains, then you get so high that it really is legitimately cold again, even if you are moving when you get to the top. Our mountains don't quite go that far. You'll see maybe 5 or in an extreme case 10 degrees of difference from the valleys to the tops of the mountains. Laurel Mountain being one of the highest mountains in the state. Approaches nearly 3,000 feet in areas. Going down now, a little descent. A beautiful view of the Conemaugh Valley. And actually, let's stop and get that on my digital still camera here. Yeah, it's mediocre quality, but I don't want to spend too much time getting the perfect picture. See some windmills way out in the distance, probably Allegheny Mountain out there. Big windmill farm. Further south in Laurel Mountain, there's a good number of windmills too, around 653. I've been trying to work on the videos and everything down around Maple Summit Road lately, and I'm always getting turned around and kind of messed up. If I see the windmills, I know I went the wrong way. I think the proper name is probably wind turbines, but they're windmills to me. I was almost involved in the construction of Allegheny Mountain wind farm, or whatever they call it. About 100 different wind turbines went up probably back in 2010. Started working with a civil engineering consulting construction inspection type company, and went to the job for one day, and they lost the contract the next day. Went out there and they said, "Evan, come home. You don't have to be there anymore." It's literally the second day or the first day that I worked there. They sent me to Allegheny Mountain. Second day I was back. They hired me for that project. So an interesting 3 years ensued. Kind of scrambling to put me on different projects, and did a lot more more than I care to ever do again of concrete and some asphalt testing, soils testing, a lot of heavy type of construction testing, which is actually some heavy work. So I was fortunate, thank God, in 2013, 2012, then I was on a longer term project at a steel mill they were building, which was the first steel mill in 40 years up in Brackenridge, PA. So that kept me busy for quite a while, year and a half, and no soils testing, concrete testing, any of that, just rebar inspection, which is kind of not my thing, but I had no choice, so I forced myself to be certified in reinforced concrete inspections, and forced myself to not be bored, and I was glad I was doing that and not the concrete testing. But then that job came to an end, and well, you know, I wasn't with that company much longer. About a month after that, they had no work for me. Immediately then, yeah, I'm probably bore you with this, but there's so many miles of this, you gotta hear something different. Immediately after that, I went to a different company. And I'm not going to mention any of the names of these companies because I don't want to be sued. And everyone said it was a great company to work for. Oh, you're so lucky to get into that company. Oh, you can advance. You can, you'll use your degree, which is in geology, and move up. Just do the low-level construction technician work for a while. And that wasn't the way it went. Immediately I was thrust back into, it was like being put back in 2010. I had worked a pretty respectable high-level construction inspection position, and suddenly I was back to being the low-level technician doing all the concrete testing, soils testing, asphalt testing, and got my right shoulder, or left shoulder, now it's my right and the left. The condition got aggravated and flared up about 3 times while I was there, and I tried to move up, I tried to get into a better place, but they didn't want to hear it. They said, you're hired to do this, that's what you're here for, we don't have anything else for you. And they were hiring other people outside the company to do what I am trained to do, which is geology, environmental studies, environmental science. So fortunately that came to an end about a year ago, a little over a year ago yesterday, actually, on July 1st, 2015. And then I worked for the state of Pennsylvania a little bit as a seasonal environmental projects construction inspector for the Department of Environmental Protection. So at least in title, I'm getting with an organization, and there's some words that sound kind of like more along the lines of what I want to do, but it was really just construction inspection, and position lasted about 5 months, but I was really there only 4 months because I had some trips planned way ahead. So come December 18th, 2015, layoff time came. Of course, I was a seasonal guy. I was going to get hired back. And, in March, when I should have got hired back, they said, nope, we're not hiring seasonal people back, even though you're supposed to get hired back every year. And I was kind of looking for jobs here and there, not really putting a whole lot of effort into it, but suddenly now I'm halfway, 2/3 of the way or whatever through my unemployment compensation. I got to ramp it up, and unfortunately that came to an end about a month ago, and I'm still waiting on things. But yeah, enough about that. Nice level trail here. Just hope things are very, very different when I come around for next year's 2017 Laurel Highlands Ultra. Yep, and barring any sort of extreme circumstances, death, just, terrible things that come up at the last minute, or if I happen to be living on the other side of the world somewhere, I'm going to be here. Hopefully they won't change their registration policy. It's nice that they keep it old-fashioned. Only mail in, so you don't have to worry about sitting in front of the computer at such and such a time on such and such a day and giving up a day of your life so that you can push the button at the exact second and have a 50% chance of getting in. Yeah, and the numbers have increased a little bit too. This race has doubled in size over the past few years. If you're doing the race, you'll be going the exact opposite way, so the northbound videos will probably be the ones you want to focus on more. Another hill. Now about 1,200 feet above the northern terminus. If you are using the metric system, that's getting close to 400 meters, which is about the elevation maximum and minimum variance. Somewhere between 400 and 500 meters, I would guess. Still went up a little, not as steep. Look at that, mile 66. Laurel Highlands hiking trail 66, well 67, 66 southbound, and